Hey, this is Pat Freeman here on the network again with my buddy Chris Stevenson, and we're once again talking about part 2 of Bishop Eddie Long. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How you doing, Pat?
A couple of new things came out with Bishop Long. Another accusation involving New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. Which was that, Chris?
This New Birth accusation. I can put my glasses on. I usually wear these in the truck, I guess, for my paperwork. But I got them up for today. This is this latest complaint was filed by a Tama Colson. Okay, she is alleging harassment, sexual harassment against one of the supervisors, a Michael Caesar, Ceaser, of showing her a picture of a penis on his cell phone, kind of like Brett Favre style, I guess.
Sexing.
Yeah.
And then what they call the sexing.
Sexting, yeah. You know, and she complained to a security official, you know, and, you know, this guy who was part of Long's inner circle and was never disciplined or anything. You know, this guy, Caesar, whatever, he has a record of doing these things and has literally run some of the sisters away from the church. Due to his behavior. So, here's the funny thing about it. New Birth, as they say, Long spokesperson says that they have a strict policy against sexual harassment.
Right.
They got to report it within 48 hours. Report it to whom? Okay. Says here, Tama did not make her complaint known until nearly a year after it happened, but the policy does not trump state law. Mm-hmm. So, this is not good. At any rate, this just piles on to all the negativity we've heard of Long. You know, but if there is a bright spot here, at least it is some heterosexual stuff going on in Bishop Long's church also.
Well, he also got sued for failing to pay a property loan back this week. That came out this week. And these aren't uncommon for any institution of that size, but it is kind of compounded more with the sexual allegations against Bishop Eddie Long. Also, we're going to take a look at some of the accusatory instruments which we have with us today. 3 out of the 4 accusations against Eddie Long from Anthony Flagg, Maurice Robinson, and Jamal Paris. And
not to cut you off, this what you're talking about, this bank loan, $1.9 million, almost $2 million to buy a gym. What's going on in that gym?
I don't know.
Lots of manly activity, I guess. I have no idea.
Well, yeah, it's beginning to compound itself.
Yeah,
it's certainly beginning to compound itself. Now, in the accusatory instruments which we have from 3 out of 4 plaintiffs, the defendants are stated as being Eddie Long, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church Incorporated, and Longfellow's Youth Academy. Also complicit in the complaints are many of the employees, board members of New Birth and Longfellow's Youth Academy. In looking at the accusatories briefly, Chris, Did you notice anything with the complaints itself that led you in any direction of what you're seeing from this case?
Well, yeah, it's pretty detailed. Say, for example, I looked at the one regarding Robinson, and I looked at the one Maurice Robinson, another, and Anthony Flack.
Right.
These are pretty serious charges. The one with Maurice Robinson, I think, I think it was Anthony Flack. Anthony Flack is the one that had the troubled relationship with his father.
Okay.
Then Long comes along and, basically takes him in. I guess the kid has some trouble with the law or whatever at some point.
Were any of the defendants in the cases, did you notice they came from single-parent households? It seemed that that was...
It's definitely a single parent. They need a male role model, somebody that's behind them. I don't mean anything funny about it, but we're seeing a predatory type of... Right.
He's starting... If you're looking at this case within itself, you're seeing a consistency in the actions based on the complaints from the accusers.
So right here, plaintiff Flag spent significant time, this is on page 6, spent significant time along with the defendant Long and opened up to Bishop Eddie Long about the difficulties he had without a father in his lot. Skipping down, plaintiff Flag's mother agreed to allow plaintiff Flag to move into the blank. This has to be either a new birth or Long affiliated location.
Right.
Since defendant Long suggested it, and she believed it would provide plaintiff Flag stability and more opportunity to learn and grow with such an important spiritual mentor in her son's lot. Shortly after this, skipping down, defendant Long gave plaintiff Flag a 2000 Mustang convertible to drive.
Mm-hmm.
This known as the Mustang. People, you just don't get a Mustang to a teenager. Teenagers just don't get new Mustangs. Okay,
but that's part of the predatory process.
Right, exactly. Another predatory process, very key. Plaintiff Flag had checks delivered to him under Long's name. Flag would sign the checks, and Long would take the check back and cash it himself and bring the cash back to people like Flag. This very disturbing stuff. You don't get this stuff for nothing.
Each one of the accusatories, they mention some form of ceremony or ritualistic.
Yes. Well, in this case of
ceremony by Bishop Long.
Yeah. Here, plaintiff Flag, was into the sexual massages or whatever.
Right.
With Eddie Long. Then there was the oral side of me, then overnight trips, starting off going to places like Charlotte, Tuskegee,
right,
New York, Memphis, Las Vegas, and then the sexual misbehavior would continue on from there, probably escalating.
So he used Long used monetary funds.
Yes.
He used money from the Longfellows Academy and other areas to entice these so-called, he called them his spiritual sons.
Right.
So he used cars, clothes, jewelry, electronics, things to entice vulnerable
That's right.
young men.
Very vulnerable.
And this is consistent with a sexual predator.
Yeah.
Very consistent.
Oh, yeah, very consistent. What gets me, this one short couple of lines here. Defendant Long, through manipulation, coercion, deception, and fraud resulting from the abuse of his confidential relationship with plaintiff Flag, convinced plaintiff Flag that engaging in a sexual relationship was a healthy component of his spiritual life. He had a habit of doing this. But on the other hand, when he noticed the boys getting ready, starting to like some of the females in the church,
right,
he would, as they call it in the street, blocking. Okay, he would try to interrupt this and then say, "Hey, this is wrong. Sex is wrong." In other words, sex is wrong when you like a female.
Right.
Sex with him was okay. This was, matter of fact, not just okay; it was healthy. So there was something there's some really bizarre and sick stuff going on with this guy.
it seems that, and there's a consistency from the
Yeah.
accusers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the more troubling things of people that are not looking at the evidence in this case.
Yes.
That there's a consistency coming from the accusers based on an obvious, if anyone would tell you that studies a predator, that he is very consistent. The age, 14 to 15 years old, when he initiated contact with each.
That's pedophile age. I'm sorry, even though you're a teenager,
right?
Still, it still makes no difference. You know, anything before 18 is pedophilia or statutory rape.
Also, were mentioned some of the employees that knew of some of the inappropriate behavior of Bishop Long are mentioned as being complicit and negligent in this case.
Yeah.
That's troubling too, isn't it?
Very troubling. And, you know, the most serious thing is the after effects, the emotional and mental damage, the psychological damage these boys undergo. There was nothing wrong with these boys sexually before they met Long. Okay? There's nothing, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing, no indications that they were about to go in this lifestyle until they meet Long, their pastor, their bishop. Okay? So, in a situation like this, when you have other church members who know about these things, and there are other people who knew, you're just as responsible as Long.
Absolutely. You're
just responsible. And what could happen to you if you just come out and bust them out? And just say, okay, hey, no, this stops here. You understand? If I'm working for Long, I drive that kid to the police station.
Right.
Period.
And he's using his relationship and his position of being a spiritual advisor, spiritual leader, as a means towards his predatory aims, based on these accusations.
Sure.
I think this Maurice Robinson was brought to Malibu.
Yeah.
It seems that the same behaviors are very consistent in the accusatory instruments, which is very troubling and should be very troubling to the members of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church that continue to defend him without looking at the evidence. All I say is look at the evidence.
Look at the evidence.
And he has to prove his innocence, but the accusatory instruments of more than 4 people, it would scare me to death.
Yeah.
That what type of person is this?
Oh yeah. And this guy even went farther. Long took this guy, Maurice Robinson, to New Zealand. You know, a place like this. Then he goes right in for his predatory sexual encounters. You know, Robinson regularly given cash by Long, paid college tuition. It's really, really bad. It's really bizarre. Not much you can say about this. You can't excuse a guy like this. If these kids are lying, then they deserve to be punished just as severely as Long.
No doubt.
Okay, because this is awfully elaborate sounding for a pack of lies. All right.
These accusations are not new.
Yeah.
This is not new. It might be new to some of you, but Bishop Long has been questioned about these behaviors since 2006, 2007. This is not new. It's new to CNN and to many of you that haven't opened your eyes. But he has been on the verge of this scandal, has been on the verge of breaking for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes.